And what was your branch of service?
I was at combat support.
Your what sport?
Combat support.
What was your highest rank?
My higher rank was sergeant first class.
And in which general locations did you serve?
What?
In which general locations did you serve?
Well, I served in Korea. In South Korea because and I was there from 1952 to 1953 as a combat support for the 65th Infantry, and I went there with many other teams as an instructor, and we were exchanging the old heavy mortar by the new heavy mortar that had been completely reshaped, remodeled by Sergeant Ryan from the Pentagon. What else?
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
No, I enlisted. By the time that I enlisted, I was in the National Guard and I was a corporal in the National Guard already. And I knew the mortar, but I had to specialize in the new mortar that was made completely different by Sergeant Ryan. Next.
So, National Guard for Connecticut?
No, I was on the army for the for the 48th Combat Support Battalion.
Well, you said you were in the National Guard.
I was before National Guard, before I entered in the regular army.
Okay. What made you decide to go from the National Guard to the regular army?
Well, it was. I started listening to some people that were returning to Puerto Rico from my hometown and talking about the GI Bill. At that time, I had graduated from high school, but I didn't have the money to go to the college, to the university. And when I heard that I could prepare myself with the GI Bill from the army, I went into the army, and then I went to the college.
So
through the GI Bill.
Were there a lot of people from where you grew up who were going into the army so they could get the benefits of the GI Bill?
Not that I know, because the other fellow that volunteered to go to Fort Knox, he was from some other place in Puerto Rico. I didn't know him.
Okay.
But he was also in the National Guard, that I know, but I don't know which company and nothing like that.
And wait, were you in the National Guard in Puerto Rico before you joined the?
Before I entered the army.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I entered the National Guard. Just being, I graduated from high school when I was 16 years of age. So I was trying to, to find out a way to pay for my college, and then I was told that in the army through the GI Bill I could come out and study, go to college with it. And so that's what I did. I volunteered into the army, and when I graduated from the basic training in Puerto Rico, then my grade corporal was returned to me, and then I was a graduate corporal. And then I volunteered to go into the army to Fort Knox, Kentucky, to specialize in the heavy mortar, because the company that I was in National Guard was a heavy mortar company. So when they said that we wanted to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky, to specialize in the 4.2-inch mortar, I stood up and I offered myself, So I was taken there, I took the training and I specialized, and then through that training in the heavy mortar and going into Korea and make the exchange of the mortar that they were having in front, we were sending a prepared team, a specialized team in the new mortar to and bring back the old mortar with the team that was operating that mortar. I taught them how to use the new mortar, and then I went back to France, exchanging. And then when I got out of there, I came back to Fort Knox. That's where I left. But then from there, I wanted to specialize in other areas. So I started taking other courses. So actually, I got to be an instructor of the Army with 5 military occupation specialties. And I specialize, for example, I am a jungle expert, I'm a strong swimmer, I am an infantry basic trainer of soldiers in the different weapons, and I also specialize in teaching, and I specialize in the I have that picture there. Is the chemical school, and I went to the chemical school and specialized in that also. So that's another one of my military occupational specialties that I can teach about chemical warfare. And I kept growing there, and I went to the School of the Americas in Fort Smith in Panama, and I worked for the School of the America for 9 years, in separated terms, 3 years, 3 years, and 3 years. and that way I got to be 17 years in the Army. So I went back to the National Guard, and I finished my service years. And when I left the National Guard, I had 21 year services, and today I received my compensation from the Army also. You see. And that's the way that I started through the Army to be able to get different. Since I specialized in the chemical school, my first thing that I did is I went to to a nursing school in Manhattan, New York, and I specialized as a nurse, and I went to work. And while I was working as a nurse, I started going to college to get. And the first thing that I did, I prepared myself in college to be a teacher, elementary school teacher. But I kept working and studying and specializing in different things. So that's what I have today. After I work also in as a teacher in in uh, in Bronx, New York, and also in Puerto Rico, and also here in Hartford. And I completed uh, uh, 14, 14 years in teaching, and I retired from there too. And then I was old enough to receive the Social Security. Now today I have three three monies that come to me at the end of the month from the Army, from the, the teacher retirement, and from the Social Security. And that way I solve my economic problem. So far that I started economically, I started make some businesses and things like that. So I have a property. It's a building of 3 floors, and it's a big place, and I rent apartments also. So I have 2 apartments that I rent, and 900 each month, and then I have the Social Security, and then I have the teacher retirement, and I have the Army. So I have sufficient money to solve my economic problems today.
But obviously not when you joined. Why did when you joined for the GI Bill, which obviously helped you get all of this, why did you join the Army? Didn't other branches also have the GI Bill?
Well, no, I got the GI Bill because I served 8 years straight. You see, but after I served 8 years straight, I went back into the Army. And then I started specializing in many different ways. And since at that moment, I had graduated from the basic education in college to be a teacher. Then I went back into the Army. Now I was a teacher, and I went to the Army as an instructor because I knew a lot of things about different weapons. I knew how to go into different environments, like how to work in the jungle, how to work and how to do what to do in the ice, because I was in the South Pole in Antarctica, and I trained there for the cold, and I trained on the jungle for the jungle, how to live in the jungle, and I trained how to live in the water because I was a swimmer. So I became an instructor in all those areas, you see, and that's what I have 5 MOS. What is called MOS is military occupation specialties, because I went to the school of the chemical school also, and it went, and that's what I have, you know, all the things that I have in education. And the beginning was through the army, you know. When the army finished the service of the army, taking the nursing course, and because I'm a nurse. um, I use the resource of the army to turn into a nurse, and being a nurse, then I started working as a nurse and going to college. So I used to work as a nurse during night, during the evening, the night, and then I went to college in the day. It was tough. It's not easy, you know. But I finished my college and for an elementary school teacher, and then I went and I took all the advanced. And so I have a doctorate in history. I have a master's in social services, and I have a master in bilingual education. So that's what I today I know how to teach anybody very easy how to talk English or how to talk Spanish. You see, that's the way.
So, do you remember what your first days in the military were like?
My first day,
Like your first few days, like your first, like, what was it like in the beginning?
for the basic training, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, for the basic training, I went into the basic training in September, October, November. Yeah, September, October, November, and December, and January. In January, I finished my basic training in Camp Tortuguero in Puerto Rico. And then from there, those people that went there, they called for people that wanted to be specialized in the new mortar. Well, I went with them, and then I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky. Fort Knox, Kentucky, we prepare all those things to go and replace the old mortar by the new mortar and retrain these people that went in the front. And we send the new mortar with a prepared team to the front to replace that one. I brought them back, trained them in the mortar, and sent them back to the front. Yeah, that's what I did there. And all that weapon belonged to combat support. It's not pistols, rifles, or shot, or machine guns. No, it's a mortar. It's like a cannon. You know. You know what a mortar is? Heavy mortar. Well, then you have the 8.2 is the bigger one. Then you have one that is 81 millimeters, and then you have the 60 millimeters. That one you can carry with yourself. You don't need a team for the 60 millimeters. Or you have to know how to load it, how to change it, and how to place it so you can shoot. And you can even use your helmet as a base for the 60. And your tongue, you throw it. It's like you're throwing grenades or something like that, you know? That's the way that it is.
So when you say 66 or 80 millimeters, you mean is that the diameter across the tube?
No, the 60 millimeter, it doesn't have, it's a very small thing. It shoots a very small, let's say, something that looks like the half of this pen, right? And you put it there, and it goes out. So all what you do is that you put what they call the charges. You can take unscrew the bottom where they have the thing that makes the thing go, and you put the according to the capacity of the mortar. So you judge, for example, you want if the mortar with two of those charges goes 100 meters forward, then with four charges we go 400 meters, with six charges we go, But the same thing happened with the three of them. According to the charges that you put in there, that far the round goes. That's what it is. Ahora, the heavy mortar is a big one, and you can put charges there to go 1 mile forward, or half a mile forward, or a mile and a half forward. It depends on how far you want to reach. You see?
So, how far it went depended on how much
charges you have.
Angle of the.
Yeah, and I don't know, on the inclination, because this is the mortar. According to how far you want to go, that's the inclination of the mortar. Because if you put it completely straight, like this, it shoots up and it comes back to you. It's like you throw a ball and you get it back, right? But the more inclined that it is, the longer, the further it goes. Now, you have to consider that you're going to shoot, but you have to know, for example, with the measure, that's what is important, the sight that you use for the mortar. Because, for example, you look at the back of you there, that house represents a mountain, for example. You see? You have to see that round is not going to hit that mountain, it's going to go over. So that all the things, the binoculars that you are using and the things like that, they're telling you how high it is. So you can put them on. If the enemy is behind that mountain, you see, you are going to set the mortar so that the round falls behind the mountain. You see, if they are behind the mountain. If they are farther off the mountain, then you adjust with charges to go farther. You can shoot above your friendly troops that are in front of you fighting there. You can shoot above them to the enemy and beyond where the enemy is. You see, sometimes you have snipers looking and giving you information. It's the enemy that is moving in this way, and for some transportation, the front transportation is in there, and the last one is near, and you're measuring it. You start shooting. You see, and you can hit the first one, and you can move and hit the second and the third, and but it's not only one mortar that is fighting neither. You see, in the company you will have 4 mortars. In the battalion, you're going to have the 5 companies, 20 mortars, right? Imagine those 20 mortars fighting those rounds. right? You're going to eliminate a whole background, you know.
This is
So,
what you guys did in Korea.
hmm?
This is what you guys did in Korea.
Yeah, that's what that's what it is for. That's the way that you have to fight, and I think that you see the 65th Infantry that we represent here now, that havoc. Yeah, that means the Hispanic American Veterans of Connecticut. That's what havoc means. We are the smallest group of people that are members of havoc. They were Koreans. We fought in Korea, but now in havoc we have people that fought in Vietnam, people that fought in Afghanistan, people that fought in different places today, you know. But they can be members of havoc. But the basic group is the Korean fighters, and we are not so many. We're very old already. I'm 80 years old, and then you have 85. There's one that is 92 years. You understand? So that's the way that it is. You keep asking questions.
Yeah. So we'll go back to when you were just starting out in the army, really quick. So tell me what basic training was like for you. Not like mortars, but like before the mortars. You're saying in Puerto Rico and camp.
I trained the basic training in Camp Tortuguero in Puerto Rico. That was I entered there when I was 17 years and a half, more or less, and then I trained for 6 months. So in uh, in January in January uh, in January of 1951 and a half. That was 1951 and a half. I entered the army. I took the training for 6 months. That was 1952. 1952, I went to Fort Knox in Kentucky, and I took the training there 6 months. And then in the same 1952, we started going to Korea. You see, that was the so when I entered in 1951, you see, took 6 months of basic training. That means 1951 and 6 months. The 6 months in training, more or less, in Pentagon. So that means 52. 52 we started at the end of 6 months, the July, something like that. We started going to Korea with the team of the new mortar, and we went. Well, we were there with 12 teams prepared, but we carried a lot of other mortars that we're going to distribute there, you know, sufficient to cover the whole mortar that was in the front and have some other spare because they might get damaged, you know. So that's something that is happened so long ago that it's difficult for you to remember, you know, things like that, especially, but you can You can follow because your life is like a line. Your life is a line, and every year, every year, every year, the experiences that you're going through, and things like that. Exactly the date, you say, okay, the 21st of February, that's today. What happened today? Well, maybe in 10 more years, I remember that I was being filing some papers that they were going to, eh, but those are dots. It's like a line that an experience markers exactly the time of the day or the exactly the what day you may not remember, but you forget the year. You don't forget the year. You remember. You forget maybe the day that it was, what time of the day it was, but you remember the year. And it's a dot in your line. It's like making a knot. I'm following, making, that's in life. Uh, your knowledge goes according to your interest in life. That's what is going to make those dots in your line. It's the interest that you have to go and get to do this and do that and prepare to this other thing. That's what is called experiences. Uh, if not everybody, you see, if you talk to some of these fellows that went to Korea, that belong to Korea, you start talking to them, unless they have papers in front of them and things that they are not going to remember. But I remember because I have been an instructor all my life. What is required from an instructor? How can you teach anybody else something completely right? How can you turn a learner into an instructor like you? You have to teach them exactly. For example, you take a pistol. Just to shoot. Well, how do you shoot with a pistol? What care do you give to the parts of the pistol? What kind of bullets can you use in your pistol? How effective can you be hitting the target? How do you do it? Which way you stand? Which way do you aim a pistol? Things like that. You have to be. For example, I remember a case. I'm always very short. You see. I have been always very short, but I remember a colonel that was standing in a competence, shooting competence. He was standing on my side, and he was with pistols. Okay, and I was there. He was standing like this. You see, this is the way that you teach. This is the way that you teach a person. You see, 90 degrees. The target, that round thing in that building, in the wall of that building, and you are pointing at that. That's the target. That's the target. You see? And he was there standing like this, because this is the way that you should be, right? Pow, pow. Now, I was on his side, and I was like this, and I had two pistols. One from the army, and one that was given to me that I won in another competence. And there were 10 rounds, and I put 5 in this and 5 in this one. Ready on the line, red on the right, red on the left, right, red on the firing line. Command, shoot it. Pa, 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 pa. And he was pow, 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 pow. Well, the targets went down. They put the, the, the markers, the markers in the brought. He had marks all over the target. Some bullets did not even hit the target, and they were all staggered over the corners. But only one was in the round part of the target that can count for you and give you 3 points or something. When he looked at mine, they were all grouped in the center of the target, the bullseye, right in the center. It's like if you look at that round thing there, you see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares, right? Well, look at the center square. I was there in the center, in the center where the spot is, the center spot is of the target. All them grouped there. And he comes and he looks at me down because he was tall. He said, Sergeant, where do you learn that? And I said, I learned that in the army, officer. When I went to the army, all what I knew how to shoot was one of those, we call them tirabetes. It's something, you shoot a marble or something like that with it, or a little stone, but that's the only thing. But I never had a weapon in my hands when I was up to 17. You see, but it's what do you want to do? How do you want to learn? And I'm a master shooter. You see, and he is asking me, the colonel, asking me, hey, Sergeant, where do you learn that? Well, what? I learned that in the army. And that's it. So, my transition was that. Entered the National Guard when I was 16. I had graduated from high school, and I before I graduated in 16 from the high school, I was in the National Guard. Why? Because I belong to the 4-H clubs, and in my hometown, and the person in charge of the 4-H clubs in my hometown, he was a captain in the National Guard in the town of Humacao in Puerto Rico. One day he saw me. I had graduated from high school, and he saw me thinking, because I was thinking, I'm going to go to college. I don't have the money to pay college, because I come from a very big family. My father and my mother, they had 17 children, and I'm the oldest one of them. You see, I'm the firstborn. And while I was there with my mother, I turned myself into a kind of businessman. But now, if I go to college, I have to stop making businesses. Where am I going to get money? So when I heard about the GI Bill, I thought, this is my... that's what, immediately And I went and came out. 8 year service, and I went and specialized as a nurse. I'm a professional nurse. I'm not practicing that anymore, but I turned into a professional nurse. And being a professional nurse, I was working in the night and studying in the day. And I got my first 4 years college, And then after, what grade are you now?
Senior.
Hmm?
Senior. I'm in college, so it's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I'm a senior, 4th year.
You're in college. You're in college, and you're not a senior yet.
No, I'm a senior now.
You're a senior, so you're about to graduate
Yep.
from college. What specialty?
History. History.
History. Oh, history. You're talking to a historian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a doctorate in history with specialization in the Caribbean area, Oh, yeah, including all the circle there, because go down south and you see like Florida is like pointing on top of Cuba, right? Florida is a peninsula. It's covered by water for three sides, right? And it's like pointing on top of Cuba. A little more to the south and under Cuba is Jamaica. Jamaica then goes to the side and you find Puerto Rico. From Puerto Rico going south, you start, for example, the first island that is to the south of Puerto Rico, the southeast, is a Puerto Rican island that belongs to Puerto Rico, but then from there you go to St. Thomas, and you go to keep going down all those islands up to the last one down that is near the 9 miles from the coast of Venezuela is Trinidad and Tobago. Then you go a little to the north of the South America into the Caribbean area. You will find 3 islands there. That one of them was a place where the United States had a artillery battalion there, and those 3 islands there, and then come into the Caribbean waters. And you go to those islands, They call them the Thousand Islands, but there's no 1,000 islands. It's not even 50 of them, but, I know all of them, and I visited all of them, and I went, you see, and some of them are French, some of them are only English, Britannic, many of them are English American, many of them are Hispanic, and some of them are Portuguese. For example, the part of Santo Domingo that they call the Haiti is that's French, and like that. And I know everything that they talk and they say down there, because I have a master's degree in language. You see, so I have no problem dealing with them. But I know them, and I know the history, and I know that what has happened with them, and how this one got free from French, the other one got free from Portugal, and the other one got free from Italy, and things like that, because even from Holland. They, but I managed to understand all of them, and I know the culture, and I know that all the things that they have there, and how they deal, and how expensive they might be, and today because I'm still following that thing. They have all the so that's my life. Yeah, that's my life, and till today going, and I still teaching English and Spanish. And I don't know if you know what is the difference between English and Spanish. Do you know?
They sound different.
Yeah.
That's all that.
They sound different. But I'm going to tell you something. It's much, much easier for a person to learn Spanish than English. I have a hard time teaching English to people that speak only Spanish, you know. But the people that I teach that speak English, only English, they learn very fast how to speak Spanish. Why? Because you have 26 letters in the alphabet. In English, you have 26. In Spanish, you have 29. But it's because some sounds, it's not because you don't have those letters that sound that way in your language, but for example, double L. I write the word small, and the word small has double L at the end. And you will say small. And that's the way that it's going to sound. But it sounds only one L, small. That double L in Spanish have a different sound. For example, an animal that is from the Andes in South America, from Peru, is called llama. The llama is Llama. When you write that word for an English speaker and you tell what does it say here, they say llama. But the Spanish you're going to say llama. You see the difference? Now, llama has three different meanings. Llama, you have a telephone, I tell you, llama a la policía, call the police. Another thing is llama is the flame that comes out of a fire. The flames, those are llamas. There's three things: the animal, the fire, and the telephone call. You see that? And there's two more in our language that you have them in English, but you sound them a different way. You see? Now, but what are the five vowels that you have in English? A, E, I, O, U. The A in English have 6 different sounds. The A only. In Spanish, is A wherever it is. It doesn't change at all. And the same thing with the other 4. E is E is E, O is O, and U is U. It doesn't change. They don't change sound, no matter where they are in the word. But in Spanish, for example, you say call to call somebody. call. C-A-L-L, and you are pronouncing the O sound there, call. You see that? So, and that same A has 6 different sounds. When you notice that, when you learn that, oh, they sound the same way all over. All you have to do is, because the consonants in English and Spanish are the same. The consonants in English and Spanish are the same sounds, the same in English and in Spanish. The consonant, but the vowels, they sound A, E, I, O, U, flat, no change it, not in English. The E in English I have 2 sounds and 1 quiet. The I in English has 2 more sounds and it changes in some words. When they are combined with E and A in the middle, something like that, they change the sound. But not in Spanish. There's no change. It's A, E, I, O, U, no matter what. If I sound, you have you know the sound of the M. Ah. Ah. What did I say there? Mama. Ah, ma. And you can take that very easy. You will learn that very easy. I can teach you Spanish in less than a month. Giving you, let's say, 2 classes in a week. 8 classes, and you will learn Spanish. The way that I teach it, because I teach it by phonics. You know phonetics? That is the language sound. And that's the way that I teach it. Language sound, phonetics. Okay? And then there's a lot of words. There's over 20,000 words that are written in English and Spanish almost the same way or almost the same way, and they mean the same thing. If you learn those cognates, you know Spanish very soon, very fast. They are called cognates because they are written the same way and they mean the same thing. For example, I gave you an example immediately. Doctor. In Spanish, doctor. They're written exactly the same way. The only difference is the stress. Doctor is at the beginning of the word. Doctor is at the end of the word. See? And I can tell you, for example, another word, animal. Animal, animal. They're written the same way, they mean the same thing. And there is over 20,000 of them. So if you know that those words, that in English already you know them, then you have no difficulty saying them in Spanish. That most of the time the stress in the Spanish words is at the end. Animal, doctor, the stress is at the end.
What were your first impressions when you arrived in Korea?
Yeah.
What were your first impressions of Korea when you first arrived?
My first
impressions.
Impression? Well, my first impression, for example, the first thing that take place in your life is, for example, the ambient, the surroundings and things like that. They're completely different to the area because Korea is like something like is here in the United States and like in the winter time like this. Sometimes they have summer, but they have also winter. The the 4 stations of the year, you can, so, for example, summer is very drastic, but winter is very drastic, and then spring is short and autumn is very short. And it gets you like out of time, and out of your mind. Now the other thing is the thing that you feel that you are going for the what I have been gathering since I entered the basic training up to where I went to Fort Knox in Kentucky. The people that they were returning already from there, telling you things about them, and how they used to hide, that sometimes they went into caves, and you pass, you could not see where they were, and all of a sudden they were on your back. The other thing is that Koreans are Korean no matter what, if they are from north or south, and if this fellow got the uniform of a North Korean, got the uniform of the South and put it on, and then they took a grenade and put it on the head, another one on the head, and they came to you. You thought that they were South Korean, and all of a sudden they bring their arms up and they explode. They died, but they kill the people around them. And you your mind is working on that. Let me see. No matter if it's Korean or it's not Korean, if you see it coming, it's stop, halt, and the way to them to understand is tweet. And then you go up and put your hands up. And after that, and you search them and things like that, then you can approach them, But if you get close to them and they are North Korean and they have grenades on their head, they are going to explode themselves, but they are not going to damage you. You see? If they have a rifle, you're aiming at them before, stop, raise your hands, and open your legs, and throw your weapon. So they are not going to let you, they're going to try to get into you without you recognizing them. And you have to be very alert for that. And it's very, very uncomfortable to be in a place like that, So I didn't have that much problem with that because I was combat support and I have a long range weapon. They didn't have to get near me for nothing, But still, it bothers you because you have your for example, the 65th Infantry, Puerto Rican. They were the National Guard battalion that was moved to Korea, and they are your friends, and they are your brothers and sisters because they're Puerto Ricans like you, and you hate to see them dying. But that that you have to be very fast, and when they ask you for support, you have to be very quick and very accurate. It's something that is impossible for some people to handle all that at the same time. So some people they kill themselves because of that. You understand that? That's the way that I have to say how did I feel being there, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. You know? So that's the way. Another question.
What was your unit assignment? What did your unit do in Korea? Like, what was your assignment?
It was combat support to give heavy weapon support to the fighting troops.
Was it all fighting troops, or did you have a fighting group that you were more specifically kind of attached to that you supported, or was it just anybody they needed, or?
Anybody that they needed. Yeah, right. Everybody. Because for example, in the combat support, when we got there with those mortars, all what happened is that all those people that were there, that were because the battalion had a combat support company, so we got attached to that company. As soon as we got there, we got attached to the company, a combat support company from the infantry battalion. You see, and then we are going to train those people first and all. And those ones that now they are going to help us to make the exchange of the weapon, and then they are going to teach us because they are there already, and they have been taught different things, and they share those things with us. So watch for this, watch for that, and have, and things like that. And it's a thing of quick communication. Communication is very important. Communication is the best thing you can have, and also infiltrating follower observers that you put in the tip of the mountains and things like that to watch with. Today is easier because the telescopes of today they are very and very accurate and things like that. At that time they were all set things, and you have to be very careful using them. When that fellow gave you information, I see this, and they are there, and I see this going over there, the transportation of these infantry troops trying to approach us and things like that, and then the setting where they are and things like that, because you have to take the information that you are going to give to the gunner, turn all that information into fire orders, and then shoot to the, it depends. It depends. So communication and be good, putting the settings and that's something that that's what I always ask. I was an army instructor, and that's what I ask everybody every time that I talk about. Tell me what do you think that is an army instructor? See, what will you say?
Someone who instructs in the army? That's a winning answer, sorry.
To be an instructor, I mean, first of all, you have to be well instructor so that you learn the thing the right way. And then to be a good instructor, you have to teach the other fellow that doesn't know the thing the way that you learn them and with the importance of that information, and teach the fellow how to do it. You see?
Yeah.
What's that? Well, I'm a master rappeller, but that's one of my MOSs. You see, I can walk all over this building, those trees and things like that by ropes. And how do you teach that to another person? You have to start basically in the basics. It's more like this, you prepare like this, you have to prepare it like this, and you have to learn how to prepare yourself. You're going to jump down. Then you have to more or less know the distance, but in case you don't know the distance, you jump, you think more or less, well, that building is, let's say, 8, 16, 24, let's say 30 feet high. The ceiling, let's say 40. You jump down from there. You have to know how much, when you're coming down the rope, how fast you're going. And how long will it take to reach 40 feet down? So that when you are about 35 or you are about 32 feet, you made the break, and then you slide slower down to the ground. You see? And that's something. Some people jump on there and they break an ankle. They break a leg because they didn't do it the right way. They didn't learn how to do it well. You see that? That if you are a master, you have to be a master in teaching that, and you teach them that way. You are going to prevent a lot of accidents. You understand that? Yeah. What else?
So where specifically were you in Korea?
I was in. There was the line of that separate parallel 38, right? I was like in the center of that parallel, back in a place that I cannot remember the name, what they call it. You see, and from there, let's say that line there is the line. The troops were in here somewhere. The places for example, colonels and officers and the administrators and things like that, they were somewhere here. And still we were in the most, not in the end of Korea, South Korea, and into the water, no, but about 3/4 of the distance from there to here. There's the support, because with that support we cover that area over. It's something that has to be related with distance. How distant are you from the border? You see, you know that as soon with this weapon that I have, I can reach how far into them there. And all that has to be in your fire direction orders that they give you. You know, you have to be very accurate with that. But the thing is that I was like, let's say, I was like right from the active area of fighting where the fighting troops were, things like that there, and where the observers were and things like that. And I'm more or less like in the center there, but we're spread to this, you know. And then we are the ones that are going to receive the fire direction orders and then give them to the mortars because, and then, not only the mortar, because they were together with us with the cannons of different sizes also. And the combat support company of them, they have a lot of other weapons like bazookas and things like that. The caliber 52 machine guns, you know, and for a air fight and things like that. Well, but those are the people that are in there, you know, dealing with and the guns, the heavy guns, they are in there very close one to the other, and you know, and we can support each other also. It's because they are going, the same order that I was going to receive. The gunners on the cannon, they're going to receive the same orders too. So they have to translate that into fire orders and then shoot. You see, but I was like, let's say, like a mile from the front, parallel 38.
Okay. So, did your combat support unit ever see combat?
Hello? Did I?
Did your the unit you're in? Did you guys ever see combat?
Speak a little louder because
the combat support unit you're in. Did you guys ever see combat?
Have ever seen combat?
Yeah, in Korea,
yeah. When we got there, yes, the combat support company that belonged to the battalion, they already had their experiences. So we learned from those experiences. You see, and we received from them a lot of other information, like I am telling you. You see, I never went through that thing that I'd seen a Korean a North Korean in a South Korean uniform exploding himself. That I didn't see, but they saw it. You know, and that's the way that we learn that we have to be careful with those people. You see anybody, you see, and anybody had infiltrated into, that they have walked, they have passed the parallel line into the enemy grounds, and they got some information and things like that, and when they were coming back, you know, you have to understand the signals, the keywords. You have to say, you know, and things like that, and then it's still like that. If it's the night, something like that, you have to say advance to be recognized, you know, and see that person. And still, when you say that, make sure the person is there. Make sure that you are covered. Okay. Advance to be recognized. When that person comes right here, you see, if he's gonna shoot you, you have the time to cover yourself, and it's a strategy, something that is terrible. But that makes you safe. You have to recognize the ways to get safe. That's it. Okay?
So, how did your service experiences affect your life? Like how?
Oh, you see, I have a tall house, and I can walk all over that house with my safety belt, with my safety ropes and things like that, and you know, and my shoes that I have to climb and not slip, things like that. You have to be prepared because if you are a master rappeller, you are going to have to climb sometimes, and you need special shoes for that. If you are going to climb something that is very, very flat, like the wall of a building, you know, you must secure a rope over that building or any part of that building, so that can support you and you can climb, right? And also you have to use gloves because those ropes when you slide down, they burn like but at the same time, those gloves, like the gloves that I had, they had something that helped you pull on the rope and don't slip. It's like that. Everything is prepared for that. You have to know how to use them. That's it. Okay.
One last question. How did the military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general?
Well, I consider myself a military person. Still, I consider myself a military person because all those things that I learned in the army, in the different, I have five occupational specialties in the army, and from all of them I learned a lot of things that many people don't know, cannot understand them. See? So, for example, I learned how to make a knot. That if I tell you to go and get it loose, you won't be able to do it. You see? Because if somebody is watching you and you throw your rope and you tighten it and somebody is watching you, and when you throw the other part that you are going to climb down, that person goes and get it loose. So no, it's not going to happen like that. The knot that I'm going to make is not that easy to untie. You see? That's it. And many times, for example, if you are going to use a knife or a machete, or you know that everybody has a bayonet, that's a knife. But you can have other special knives also, like a knife that is to cut wood, or something that is to fish, depending on the you are. If you are in the jungle, to recognize the it's like something that grows down from trees that is looks like a cable, right? They're going down, and you cut them in a 45 angle like that, and then you start throwing water, you know. So there you get your water to drink from there. But you have a knife, you have to cut it. Maybe the bayonet is not good enough, but you have to have something that is sharper than that. And that's what it is. You know, you have to be prepared in the places. And still today, I have with my wife, for example, when I do things, she said, how do you do that? How do you how could you do that? How do you get that? How do you, and I have and then I explained to her, you know, and then I have it's a granddaughter that I have. Right now she's 8 and she's very bright, and she, for example, she is using something and it breaks, a toy or any other thing that breaks, and oh, you broke it. Don't be worried. Grandpa will fix it. She come to me, and because of that, you see, I have a certification that puts me in the position that I can deal with electricity, plumbing, construction materials, and I can do all that. I can deal with everything, you know. And where did I learn that? The most of it I learned in the army, because everything has a way that is a natural way, and the army teaches you very much about to deal with nature. That's it. You are prepared. You have to remember and know. Don't forget how it's done. And since I had to learn things from deep in order to teach them to others, well, it's very hard for me to forget. I will not forget. And I say to people, and how old are you? And they say, I'm 80 years. No, you're not 80. Yes, I'm 80. They say, no, I thought you were about 60 or 65 or something like that, you know? Some say that 55. And then you don't, because you see a 55 person sometimes that they're so old that, I don't know, it looks so old, and they don't have like energy and things like that, you know, to do heavy things or nothing like that. I never had any high pressure. I never had any cholesterol. I mean, everybody has cholesterol, but bad cholesterol. You see, I never was found that I was missing any kind of thing in my body, because I was told how to eat, or what to eat, and you have to be very careful with that. Right. Okay.
But thank you very much for your service and for your time.
Okay.